the MMA Roadshow, episode number 168. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is with me. We are at home in Las Vegas, and more specifically, we are at the spiritual birthplace of the MMA
wondering if you were going to
Roadshow.
say spiritual birthplace.
Buffalo Wild Wings at Warm Springs and Durango. We've got, I've got the afternoon off. I think I just kind of convinced you to play a little bit of hooky. So
Yeah, I still got to go back and do shit after this.
But, we're just having a few frosty beverages. You know how you do on a nice Vegas Thursday afternoon off.
A nice, seething, super hot Vegas.
Oh, it is. It's getting
It's already
summertime
getting.
already.
It's not even like. I technically it is mid-June, but it's like, I feel like we've jumped way hotter than what we should be at this point right now.
It's hot.
It's really hot.
We're already in the grips of summer.
It's really hot.
All right, a little bit of trivia question.
Okay.
Do you remember what UFC 168 was?
No clue.
None at all?
Give me a hint. It was a mixed martial arts event held in a city.
I mean, I could go. It was in Las Vegas.
168.
The only hint I could give, I think, would just. Well, not the only hint I give. The first one, just.
I don't know, man.
All right, how about broken leg?
Ooh, Anderson Silva?
Yeah,
Whoa.
UFC 168 was December 2013. The Anderson Silva broken leg. What a vicious
the
one that
rematch,
was.
right?
Were you backstage then?
Uh,
Did you have to see Anderson at all when he was in pain and writhing?
yes. I do remember that. Yes, because I remember they stretchered him.
Yeah.
That's right.
Did you see any of that stuff? That was hard to watch, man.
No, because they, I remember, if I remember right, they, it was almost like straight to the ER or whatever.
ambulance
type
Yeah, I
thing.
remember they brought him by press rows. I mean, because, dude, Anderson Silva's still one of the greatest ever. I mean, if you don't want to call him the greatest ever, fine. But, one of the greatest ever at the very least. And to see him, I mean, literally just the sound. It stuck in my head when they were taking him out of the cage. The sound and the visuals, man. That was a that was a tough one.
Yeah,
to watch.
he was crying. He was in a lot of pain. I think the biggest thing, everybody was just in such shock.
Yeah.
In the back. Like, everybody was just like, what the hell just happened? It was unreal. Because it's one of those things can happen.
Right.
You're like, oh, great. That's the crazy side of things. But, oh, it will never happen here. It won't happen here. It's always some other promotion, some other place, some far away, and not to a star.
Yeah.
Not to somebody.
To Anderson Silva.
Not to Anderson Silva.
Not to the Spider.
Especially trying to get that rematch, trying to get that win back or whatever. And it was just like.
That one stuck out in my head. The episode numbers, every now and then the episode numbers stick out, and just 168, it stuck out in my head. That was a night I will never forget. It was funny. I pulled up the card because of the broken leg. I kind of almost forgot that Ronda Rousey beat Miesha Tate that night in the co-main event. Like, everything in my head is so much about Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva. I kind of completely forgot that Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate was on that same card.
That might have been one of, if not one of the last ones of Chris Lieben as well.
Oh, that was when
Uriah
Chris
Hall.
Lieben quit on the stool.
Yeah, that was that. And then let's see who else. Gleison Tebow, Michael Johnson, that was a good one. The draw overturn, I don't remember. Since it's a draw, probably why. But the Manny Gamburian and Dennis Seaver fight, that one doesn't really stand in my head. Good old John Howard, man. I remember he was one of the nicest guys, and I always thought I was like, man, he was so close. I just thought he would just turn the corner and be like this great fighter, and it just
never quite happened.
It
always seemed like he had it in him, though, right?
Oh, he totally had it in him, and then just wouldn't pull the trigger or just something, and then it just went downward. But he was always the nicest guy. And I remember, I think he fought on a Pittsburgh card, or I want to say, maybe unless I get my cities. I remember I felt like I had bonded with him, and I was just like, this is the dude, man. I want him to do well. And then it just like, so now I try not to get too emotionally attached to dudes, because apparently the universe wants to push him out of the UFC at once.
Basically,
that
you don't want to
happens.
curse him?
I don't want to curse him.
Yeah. All right. Quick trip down memory lane, UFC 168. Should say, by the way, woke up this morning, watched a little bit of World Cup. So if you're into the soccer thing, I will be watching it every bit along the way as well. Russia beat Saudi Arabia to start the tournament this morning, 5-0. Big win for Russia. I just wanted to mention it real quick because I know I'm not going to convert people. I know there's a lot of American fans especially that don't give a damn about soccer or football, depending on,
footy,
what you want to call it. But I will say, I just wanted to throw a shot. It is my second favorite sport. There's no doubt. It is actually my second favorite sport behind mixed martial arts. And the thing I like about it, and again, I know a lot of people right now are probably already turning the podcast off and say, John Morgan, I don't care about soccer. What are you talking about? I just wanted to mention it briefly because the World Cup is cool. And the thing about soccer that I like, and I think the reason it's my second favorite sport, is like mixed martial arts, one moment changes everything. One moment, it's
when you're faced with all that you can be, or something like that.
It's terrible.
Should I bleed the Whitney up underneath? One moment in time.
It's just, like in like a basketball, and I understand that basketball is like as popular as it's ever been right now. They're getting like incredible TV ratings and all that. And it's not that I don't like basketball or I don't respect basketball players, whatever. But it's just, to me, like, those games don't even matter until like there's 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter or something like that. I mean, even American football, it's just like a whole bunch of back and forth. I feel like, you know what I mean? Whereas, mixed martial arts, obviously, a knockout, a submission, game over. Soccer can be that way to a degree as well. I mean, one goal means a lot, you know, and I know that's why people don't like it, is because it's low scoring. But to me, like, that's the part that I do like about it, is the goals. The moment you score means something. It's like a knockout. It's like a submission. You know what I mean? It means something special. I mean, today was 5-0. So maybe, it's not quite as special or whatever, not quite as tense.
Each one of those you got special gradually
moments.
less excited about.
Saudi Arabia got knocked out 5 times a day is what I'm trying to tell you. But, yeah, so anyway, just throwing a little World Cup shout out. For the next month, I will be watching as many of the games as I can. Some of them are kind of early Pacific time, obviously 5 a.m. I think are some of the games. So that's going to be tough. But if anybody is into the soccer and they want to talk a little soccer on Twitter, whatever the case may be, I'm not going to lie. I don't get to watch as much as I used to, so I don't know all the players anymore. Yeah, because MMA has totally enveloped my life, and it sucks that the U.S. didn't even make it. But I'm gonna watch it.
That was sad. But yeah, I mean, I can definitely see why. I think for the American market, even if you didn't grow up watching soccer or knew somebody playing soccer, it wasn't the first sport that a lot of us, were really drawn to.
Right.
I think we are drawn to more of either the football, the quick, intense action with big payoff. Basketball, the same sort of thing. Less violent, but still lots of quick bursts of energy. A lot of stuff happening where. When you sit back and you look at soccer, when you look at the fine details of what it takes for them to do what they do, I mean, they're running practically nonstop for 45 minutes or longer, depending on how much stoppage time there is. When you realize, the fitness that it takes and the skill to actually maneuver the ball like they do, using only their feet, and all the little stuff. I think once you start paying attention to that, you respect the sport. It's the same
There's
thing
skill to it. Now listen, they dive. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh yeah, they are some
dive.
serious ass sissies doing some dives.
That part of it, I will give you that. If anybody wants to come to me and say, John, I don't like it because they act like whiny bitches.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
I'll
give you that. But sometimes you just need a break. You know what I mean? So you're trying to go for a foul, so maybe catch their breath for a second.
That's the thing. Once you know that's what they're doing sometimes, and you pick up on it, then you just kind of go, oh, I see what's going on here. Then you don't take it. It's a strategy move. But not everybody notices that. A lot of people just say, oh, dude didn't even get bumped, and he's down there like doing the Peter Griffin, grabbing his knee and stuff. Is like, come on now. But same thing with like when I watch when I first started watching NASCAR, everybody's like, oh, they just turn left. You're
watching NASCAR?
Well, I've watched NASCAR over the years. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's my family. We watch NASCAR. We shoot guns. We do all that kind of shit. But I don't watch it all the time. But same thing with like NASCAR. When you watch the pit crews, the technical side of what they have to do to get the car and as it changes, once the heat starts heating up the track, the tires, so they change the tire pressure, they change the tilt. There's all these things that you don't think about when you just look at it. You're like, looks boring as fuck. Looks boring. But when you start to dive a little bit deeper, then you're like, okay, I get it. Maybe a little bit. There's always going to be some people.
Subtle nuance.
There's always going to be people that are just like, oh, it's not my thing. Because when you compare it to the other sports, especially like an MMA sport, where there's just so much quick bursts of action and so many possible highlights that can be taken away. You could take a fight and you can say, all right, I'm giving you 3 minutes of footage. Find me 2 highlights. And you could take that out of NFL, basketball, most of the sports, hockey, anything.
True.
and you say, okay, I'm just going to randomly pick 3 minutes, you could probably find a couple highlights just because of the nature of the sport. Same thing with, that's what's hard about soccer, because unless you're getting somebody close that's getting into the box and making a good shot, it's just a whole lot of strategy, a whole lot of things. You might be like, I don't see it. I don't see it. But, it is. I mean, it's impressive. These guys are some of the fittest when it comes to, like, cardio and run. These guys can literally run for days.
They're incredibly fit, whiny bitches.
But most of them, they're the guys that all the women love, because most of them are all good-looking dudes. They were super well paid. When you're talking about
if you're at the top level, they're
when
rich.
you're talking about a sports that get paid well, the upper-level guys are making so much loot, man. Like, it's unreal. But, those are the guys that all these kids in a lot of countries are idolizing. So, for them to be these role models, pay the dudes the money, I guess. I mean, like, they are literally – some of these guys carry brands on their shoulders. It's just crazy. I mean, but
so there you go. So if and by the way, we just found out that the World Cup will be in the United States in 8 years. So
is it really?
Yeah. You didn't hear about this?
No,
It's a joint bid. It's actually pretty cool. So 2026, it'll be us, Canada, and Mexico in a joint hosting situation.
Oh, that'll never work.
Yeah, well, no. Canada gets like 10 games. Mexico gets like 10 games.
Trump will fuck that all up before we ever get a chance. Before we ever get a chance. But then Canada's been like, screw you. We're already ready to done with you guys. And Mexico's like, fuck you. Once it gets past the wall, we're not putting it back into your country.
It'd be funny if they're like, well, we're not going to do it if you build a wall.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, we don't go down that road.
Wow, what a crazy partnership.
So there you go. World Cup. Something to watch. If you're watching soccer, I will be doing. All right, let's start with Conor McGregor real quick. Cold Coffee. I'm sure you saw today. Conor McGregor did appear in court in Brooklyn. Basically got what we expected. We had talked about it that it's just a continuance for the time being. He's going to come back in July. He did offer a quick statement to the cameras, and basically the statement was very easy. It was, I regret my actions that led me here today. I understand the seriousness of this matter.
It was very heartfelt.
And I'm hopeful it gets resolved soon. Okay, but see, so I want to ask you about that.
Very sincere and heartfelt.
All right, well, that's what I want to ask you about. I mean, it was definitely a rehearsed statement, but I will say.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you got to do in those situations.
I was going to say.
Don't give them opportunity to, like, take it elsewhere. Get in, get out. Or, I mean, you see when we have them in a scrum situation, we would take him for 30 minutes. We would take him for an hour.
Sure.
There's always somebody with more questions. So he did the best thing. He went out there and made a statement, said, I'm sorry. He humbled himself.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
And then got the fuck out.
I liked the body language, that I saw. I get it. I get it. He just said a rehearsed statement, whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like his demeanor and again, just reading kind of body language, I liked what I saw today. Maybe it's just a little bit of clips of video that we're seeing. But I thought it was.
He knows how to work the game.
I feel like when after the arrest, I almost feel like he paraded out of the jailhouse like I'm a badass. You know what I mean? Like I'm the gangster.
That's what I mean. He knows what he's doing, and he knows what he needs to, in this, especially in this situation, to play the game. I'm sure he's been coached by his lawyers as well on what he needed to say, but also go up there, don't showboat, appear humble, say what you need to do, and let's just move on beyond the stage.
Yep.
Because the further it gets pushed away and it pushed back, the better for him. Time heals all wounds.
Of course.
He has more chance to, try to do better things out in society that they can use to also go back when it comes to try to plead this thing out. I mean, one, it's going to have to work out whatever sort of civil actions and things. That's all going to get played
ongoing.
Into.
That's going to be ongoing.
But
PS is going to get some money. Ray Borg is going to get some money.
Yeah, I mean,
there's some other UFC employees that are suing.
It's bad. I felt bad for the guy. I forget his name. Colin, the other guy that was
his teammate.
Yeah. That, poor guy. Like Connor's got this huge entourage of people after he does this statement, and as they're walking in, the police, everybody, and he looked like a guy that was just following the pack inside. And it's like he's actually has to do the court thing too. Like, can y'all give him some love? I felt bad for him.
I'm sure. Yeah. Give him some love on his court day.
Yeah, but just walk him in, make him feel like he's part of the.
All right. Well, it looks like July 26th they're gonna get this thing worked out. As we said from the very beginning, no jail time is gonna happen here. He's gonna get probation probably. He's gonna have to take some anger management classes, all that. But here's what I want to know, because Dana White in recent weeks he started to bring up He started to say, hey, next fight for Conor is Khabib, man. That's the fight that makes sense, and it does make sense, and. I mean, that is the fight that I think most people want to see. I know I definitely want to see it. Do you think the UFC will do anything? I feel like they have to do something. Man, if this
I think
thing
they
goes,
already. The fact that they haven't made a statement, sort of about any sort of plans up to this point, that they just kind of push it off, makes me feel I'm not confident they'll do anything.
So you think they'll just let it go?
I think they're just gonna whatever happens.
I don't even know what the right thing to do is, to be honest with you. Maybe it's like
should have suspended him for a year or 2 years. They should have mandated their own
but
thing.
I don't know if you can do that because of the fact that he's a because he's a
he has to. I guess they have to fight.
Because he's
but
not
I'm sure
a
there's
employee,
something.
because he's an independent contractor. Can you suspend an independent contractor?
I guess you could not offer him fights and decide. I'm sure there's something in their contract clause that says, if you do something, we don't have to give you a fight this year.
Right.
I mean, the fact that all they have to do is offer him fights or whatever, I guess. But I'm sure there's something on the flip side, so that if a guy's being a complete asshole, and doing bad things, that they don't have to offer him anything.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that would fall under.
I'm
sure that would fall under the behavior
code of conduct.
There you go.
I mean, so he clearly fuck that up, whatever that is. He's
he's in violation of that.
He's in violation of
question.
that. So I think they could easily say, Conor, for your actions, the UFC is putting you on a whatever, whether they want to call it suspension or whatever. They could call it whatever suspension. It doesn't mean he's actually suspended for whatever. That just means they're suspending, trying to match make for him,
right.
And could say that, hey, we're suspending.
But they want him to fight.
That's
they
the
want
thing.
that
I mean,
money.
of course. That's the.
That's
everybody knows.
I don't even know
the
what,
fact that people want to talk about John Jones and Brock has nothing to do with the fucking sport. It's just a spectacle. It's just about making money. So the fact that they haven't come out and actually tried to say like what you did, was, worst case the tear that they were trying to invoke against people on the bus.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for somebody, like, if you want to take it crazy, like you invoked mass hysteria, you invoked mass fear. It's an act of terrorism, my friend.
It is. You could make
except
the
for
case.
terrorism is like political.
Right.
There has to be some sort of political sort of thing. But the fact that what he tried to do was, causing
it's all about
mass
intimidation,
fear.
right? It's all
mass
about intimidation. Yep.
That's the same shit why, mob bosses get thrown in fucking jail for years and years and years. Intimidation and fear. And let alone he actually did cause bodily harm.
Yes, he did.
It's very bad what he did. It could have been so much worse. So the fact that they were like, oh, what he really did was just threw a dolly against an inanimate object. He threw it against the window.
Right, it's a property crime.
He wasn't attacking the window. He was trying to cause fear and harm those inside the truck. There's very different, what actually happened and what was going on. So
the damage was to property,
right?
But it was not a crime against property,
right? That's what his lawyers are trying to push it, that it was a crime against a property,
right?
But it had nothing to do. He could have.
It wasn't vandalism.
He could have crushed a ton of other cars that were down there and other trucks, but no, he went to the one that had people on it that were occupied with a desire to cause fear to people inside.
That's essentially an assault, except for the fact that there just happens to be a bus wall in front of you. So, all that said, at the end of the day, we know he's not going to go to jail. We know he's going to get probation. We know he's going to get a fine. And you know what? For a guy with no previous criminal records, that's probably okay.
That's the best thing he's got going for him.
The
fact that he hasn't messed up in the past.
But I just wonder what the UFC can do or should do, because I feel like I just don't feel like they can be like, well, legal process is done. We've wiped our hands. All right, let's get Conor Habib. I know they want to get Conor Habib. That's a fight people want to see. That's a fight that'll make the UFC a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like they probably need that fight to happen. It's been kind of a slow start to the year, what have you. They probably need that fight. So I don't even know what the proper punishment would be, but I just feel like they have to do something. Maybe it's as simple as you issue a statement and you say, the guy's going to be on probation with us for a year, and if something else happens, we'll terminate his. They're not going to terminate his contract. I just don't know
employers
what to do.
they'll never, because he's he's the biggest cash cow. But employers all the time put people on probation within the company. Like who hasn't done something like? You worked in the food industry. How many times do cooks or somebody mess up and you're like, all right, we're going to put you on 30 days. Sure. 30 days,
or a probationary period or whatever.
Like you got to keep your shit clean or we're done.
Yep.
It happens a lot, and it sounds a lot more legal and oppressive than it is. When you think of probation, like, oh my goodness. But
all you're saying is watch your P's and Q's the next month or you're out.
And it's crazy, but it just feels bad. Even taking it to recently, like Greg Hardy, I thought how he handled himself, he seemed like a nice enough guy. If I had no idea what happened in the past and the hurt that happened. Dana's quick to point out that, charges were dropped once, he didn't really clarify, but, I tried to read up a little bit. I guess once the victim stopped being responsive to the court's questions and wanted to push it, eventually they're like, well, we can't make this go forward if the witness is not being willing to work. So the case was thrown out, and I want to say it was because of a prearranged monetary agreement between Hardy and herself.
That was not ever made official, but that was
Right.
what the lawyers said, that we believe this is what's happening.
Right. So, I mean, it's just crazy. So, I mean, this is a company that, on the same side as, like, we think domestic violence and shouldn't have it, this, but they're bringing the guy that they're playing a technicality. They're playing, well, this never actually was proven in court. That's our justification for bringing this in, because it's a guy that played in the NFL and a big name. Seemed like the nice enough dude. Everybody fucks up and everybody can make mistakes, and it sucks that he made a shitty mistake, in the past, and he's dealing with it. And I thought it was, he was very humble and seemed like a nice enough guy. It doesn't make what happened right if all things that were said did actually happen. It sucks really bad. But also, I'm sure people are going to come out and say, oh, why are you justifying that guy being it? But he put on a good fight, and he seemed like a nice enough dude, and it sucks that that should happen. But this is the same company now. It's like Conor just invoked all this fear and threw all this shit, but he's also a possible money maker for us. They didn't do anything for him. And it's just like the company has went around a different corner now, and it just seems to me it is completely money-driven, and it's a lot less about what sort of mark they want to leave as a sport and as a organization. I just feel like, and this is not anything to like the employees, because I mean I had some good times working there, but also had met some of my best friends there. But just for an organization to kind of go back and forth and what they say and then what they do, and it's all based around the amount of money that they can make from these individuals, just makes you think, well, I just took this ethics thing, from that we had to do for the Gannett, and it was just like listening to half these things. It's like, you just really feel like some of the decisions that they're making could probably be done better ethically. Like some of them are questionable. It seems like there's some questionable ethical decisions that are happening all for financial reasons, and I don't know.
Well,
I want to fast forward a year or two so we can get behind, and hopefully that these sort of things go away. But I guess it's human nature, and maybe a human nature of a sport where guys are violent by nature, that we're going to keep running into sort of things like this. You'd like to think that eventually people are like, oh, I'm going to learn my lesson. We're going to learn our lessons because they put a good example. They fucked up, but they fixed it. We're not seeing the right things happen to make an example of what has happened in the past. So who are they going to learn from? All they're learning now is like, if you make enough money for the company, if you do enough, you're all right. And that's like the typical, I think that's what like a lot of politics and a lot of shit that we see in the U.S. Pay to play. If you got the money to do whatever, you're able to you're afforded a lot of freedoms that most people in this country don't.
Judged by a different set of rules, basically.
And it's just, I don't know.
All right, well, let's start with Greg Hardy, because I think what you're bringing up is actually pretty important. It actually ties into a lot of the topics. We talked about Conor. Let's go to Greg Hardy next. Greg Hardy, as you said, the background has been well publicized. Domestic violence issue, convicted on it, appealed basically. Now, should they? He was convicted of a misdemeanor.
He was convicted of a misdemeanor. That's, I guess, I forget that part. Is the appeal thing is why it was able to be thrown out.
So he appealed because in North Carolina, I guess if you're convicted on a misdemeanor, you have a right to appeal and have a jury trial.
Jury trial.
So he asked for a jury trial. Then at that point, it seems like a settlement was reached because they couldn't find the woman to testify against them. And again, the lawyer said, we believe they've reached a financial arrangement, and that's why she doesn't want to testify at this point. So that's what happened. Now, he was given another chance after that in the NFL. Later was arrested for, I think, cocaine possession. And so, that kind of, like, the whole thing kind of led to his blackballing.
Which I don't really care about that.
Nobody does.
Nobody does.
But that was, like, I guess that was the straw that broke the camel's back after what was already there. It was,
True.
It was, like, more character issues, basically, right? I guess it's kind of like the thing of saying, hey, you're on probation, buddy, don't mess up again, and then you mess up again, and you go, all right, you're out. So
like you realize you're not hurting anybody doing this, you're just hurting yourself, and it's really
but you screwed up.
But you screwed up.
So he comes in, he signs with the UFC, or at least with Dana White's Contender Series. A lot of us were kind of –
don't you dare just say the Contender.
That's right, Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. And you'll actually hear that clip in just a second, which is funny. But he comes into the fight the other day. Austin Lane, which the guy was awesome, man. Seemed like the nicest guy ever.
Talk about a specimen.
Bro, both those guys, NFL athletes.
Huge.
I will say that, seeing the difference in athleticism, people talk about like former NFL guys, like those dudes are big and strong. I mean, they
Austin Lane, how tall was he? He looked
like 6'5", 6'6".
Seemed like he was tall. Huge.
They got into that
mammoth.
small cage. They got into that little tiny cage at the Ultimate Fighter gym.
Yeah.
And there was literally no room for either one of them to take a step forward. It was basically just, well, you're just going to have to bang it out right here in the pocket. So, going in, first of all, Austin Lane, as you said, was a specimen. And I'm sure there were probably some UFC employees that were like, boy, I hope Austin Lane wins so we don't have to deal with this. But Greg Hardy wins.
Yeah.
Violent fashion.
That was a great fight, man. They just threw down.
57 seconds. Greg Hardy gets the contract. He gets the developmental deal, so he's under UFC contract. He'll fight on some regional promotions. Maybe
is that the first one of those that's happened? I don't remember that happened last season.
Yes, the first one to come off Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender
to
Series.
Get development. So like last year, it was just all straight contracts. They never did it.
That's right.
I didn't know that was an option.
I
guess they could do whatever they want. Yeah.
All right, but so Greg Hardy now under UFC contract, even if he won't be fighting directly in the UFC. Dana White actually came back.
Check from him.
That's right. Dana White came back and spoke to the media at the gym the other night, and here's what he had to say. I talked to him, Brett Okamoto, a couple other people in the scrum, asked him questions about Greg Hardy, and here's what he had to say.
And you give Greg Hardy, we were watching on social media, so we didn't get to see it exactly, but it sounds like kind of a developmental deal for Greg. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, if you see him, you see that he has power. He's a big heavyweight. He needs to work more. I mean, he needs to get some more fights. We've done deals where, for example, Cyborg was under contract with the UFC but fought in Invicta. Alexa Grasso was under contract with the UFC. Mackenzie Dern was under contract with the UFC and fought in other places. So I have a few ideas of what to do with this guy and let him develop. And, he's with a great team already. He's training with great guys. They say he's a hard worker. They say all positive things about him out of that gym. So, we'll try to build him up and see what he can do.
When guys are on deals like that, are you involved in the matchmaking for him, even though it's taking place in other promotions?
Yeah, definitely. And the way I see it is what I'd love to do in a perfect world. This is not what I'm doing, but in a perfect world, this is what I'd like to do. If he can turn around and come back, I'd like to have him fight on the last episode of the Contender Series. Then I'd like to put him on a bunch of looking for a fight cards, and get him some experience, and then we'll decide when we think he's ready for the UFC.
And we talked about it a little bit the other night, but, with him being under UFC contract now, his past gets brought up every time, right, what he went through. I mean, how do you deal with that? Because what people are saying is, how do you apply it equally to people? You said in the past, we don't put up to that. You touch a woman, never. You know what I mean? So How do you apply the policy consistently, and how do you justify having him under deal?
We've had lots of different situations here. The reality is, if this guy stays clean for the next 10 years, goes on to win a world title, becomes one of the greatest mixed martial artists to ever live, he's always going to be looked at. He's always going to hear it. That's always going to be in the story that's written about him. Other opponents he fights are going to call him a woman beater, and that's going to follow him for the rest of his life. You don't shake that. That stays with you forever. And he's done all the things right so far. The guy paid his dues. He hit rock bottom. He built himself back up, and the guy's out there trying to make a life and a living.
Dana, knowing what you just said, that will follow him around, it'll now be associated with, I guess, your brand. So is there any concern, I guess, over that?
It's gonna happen anyway. I mean, we've had situations with other guys. People make mistakes. People always make mistakes, and the thing about making mistakes is How do you recover from that? How do you act after you've done something bad? This guy has paid his dues. And like I said, he hit rock bottom. He built himself back up. He's got out there and you know, he's fighting in these amateur fights where he doesn't get paid. Now he came here, and I think he made 10-10, and he's working his way back up the ladder. He's doing the right thing. He's off drugs. He's off alcohol, and he's trying to change his life. You know, you can point the finger at a guy all you want, but you can't look down at a guy for trying to turn his life around and trying to be a better person. And I believe that's what he's doing. And obviously, he's the type of athlete and the type of guy that if he does anything wrong, there will be no mercy for him. I mean, everybody's gonna jump on him. But as far as you talk to the people in his camp, they love the guy. Men and women, they think he's a great guy and a guy who was probably doing drugs, drinking, and made a big mistake.
How did your paths come together, yours and Greg Hardy's, and what was your initial reaction?
Well, when we started getting this season together for looking for a fight, no, that's not the show. When we got this season together for Dana White's Contender Series, do me a favor too, when you guys write about this, call it Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, because the contender is coming back. Okay? So we might have a problem if you guys just throw down the contender or the UFC's. Please write the full name out when you write stories about it, please, to save me one more headache in my crazy-ass world. How did this happen? Yeah, so when we were putting this season together for Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, they approached us, and he had 3 amateur fights, and he wanted to fight here. So we sat down, we debated it, we made some calls, we did a little bit of homework, and then we decided to do it and give him a shot.
Did you meet him in person first and
No,
test him out?
Meeting him wasn't as important to me as talking to the people who were around him every day, people who didn't know him, and people who started to train with him at the gym, and that was really what I was looking for. And I got nothing but rave reviews about the guy. So from men, women, the coaches, Dan Lambert, everybody.
All right, so there you go. Dana White explaining why he decided to give Greg Hardy a chance and why he thinks that Greg Hardy deserves a spot in the UFC. And Cold Coffee, I'm torn on this one, man. I'm not going to lie about it. And you have to talk about this so carefully, right? Because anything you say, people are going to say, "Oh, you're standing up for the guy that's a convicted domestic abuser." And I understand the impact of domestic abuse, man. Domestic violence. I get it, man. I understand why this is such a hot button topic. I mean, on our own staff, Fernanda Prachas would be more than happy to rip me a new a-hole about, trying to defend the guy or whatever. But so I'm not trying to defend the guy. But what I am trying to understand and comprehend is how does it work? What are we supposed to do? Because the guy lost his career, right? I mean, he admits he loves football. He would play football. He wants to play football. If they would call him right now, he's like, I'd go play football. He's like, but football is not an option to him anymore. So he went to another career. Now, granted, it's still a professional sport, but it's an entirely different professional sport. The pay scale is vastly different. So he lost millions of dollars there. He's had to reinvent himself. He's had to start at the bottom. Apparently, he used to be, a drug and alcohol abuser. He's ceased to do that. People say he's doing the right thing in the gym. But yet there's still this overwhelming sentiment that he shouldn't get an opportunity in the UFC because of his past. And I'm torn on it because I think there's one thing is being able to punch someone for a living when you've been convicted of domestic violence. I understand, maybe the optics of that don't look real good, right? But I don't know, at what point do you say if you're convicted of this crime or this is a crime you commit, are you just not allowed to be a part of society anymore? Or you're not allowed any sort of success whatsoever? And I mean, I've heard some people say, well, listen, he hasn't shown any remorse. Well, I don't know how many interviews he's done. He definitely, when we talked, never apologized for anything. But at the same time, it's a several-year-old offense.
But he also didn't shy away. I like the part where, in talking with you, where he's like, no, bro, if you're the one that's asking, you can ask all the time. Like, he understands that it's not going to go away, so you can't run from it.
Well, and here's what I wonder, too. If he does have this financial settlement, what are the chances that maybe a part of the financial settlement is he ain't supposed to talk about it?
It could, but you would figure a lot of times people will say that. They use that as their excuse as to why they won't answer the question.
Right.
Because you just say, I think by doing that, he probably feels, that's, in a sense, an admission of guilt.
Right. That's what I'm wondering if, maybe that's part of it. But then here, too, so if that's the thing is that he hasn't shown any remorse, right? So let's say he settled with this young woman, paid her however much money she wanted, and maybe he apologized to her. I don't know. Like, is that supposed to change? Like, does Greg Hardy owe John Morgan and Cole Coffey an apology for what he did? Like, what the hell? What does that do?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to defend the guy. I'm just literally trying to understand. And I want – and if anybody's listening and wants to try to educate me, like, listen, I'm cool with that. Like, I just don't understand – I understand that there's people that are saying, look, don't celebrate this guy as, a reborn hero or whatever because he has a horrible past.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, again, the guy lost his career, reinvented himself, supposedly is living a better lifestyle. You heard what Dana White said. You heard what the people around him, relayed secondhand. I mean, do you not give the guy a second chance at some point?
Yeah.
That's what I'm honestly – and I don't have an agenda. That's what I'm honestly trying to understand.
Yeah. I think it's definitely one of those cases where the people are going to be on both sides of the fence as for whether somebody that's able to do that can reform themselves. And what, I'm just looking at this thing and seeing how Jessica Rose Clark, on the site we have an article
just
about.
Listened to it earlier,
she's very, very against it. She, quote says, I don't believe people like that change.
She talked to our buddy Richard Hunter.
Yeah,
that's where this interview came from.
Phone Booth Fighting Podcast, props. I guess maybe it'd be a little bit different where as if he actually – because I don't think he served any jail time for this, right?
Didn't serve any jail time. In fact, even when he was convicted, he wasn't going to serve jail time. It was only going to be probation.
Right. See, I think we have people that – I was going to say criminals and make it sound like mean. There's people that find themselves into the criminal system through either mistakes or their own doings that happen, and through society they're supposed to be somewhat reformed. That's the idea behind it, when they come out into society. We don't shun those people. We don't, push them in a corner. We're not supposed to, oh, sorry, you're a criminal. I can't possibly talk
right.
to you. We accept people like that, So in a case like this, maybe part of that is missing because since he didn't actually go away, he didn't actually have to do the things that most people that make mistakes like this, I think people are pretty spiteful that no lessons really been learned to kind of get that, okay, well, he did the crime, he did the time, maybe he's learned something. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. A lot of people, I think, are just looking like, okay, here's another guy that was able to use money to get out of something that
and writing a check and losing money isn't enough.
And writing a check and losing money, what does that do when a guy's got whatever sort of money and it's still all the future potential in the world to earn more money, where most people that, have gone to jail for the similar sort of things usually don't get out anytime soon, and usually don't have the means to kind of get it. So I can see where people, are angry because they don't feel like any lessons been learned. So like, what's different? How is this person that I see before me different in any way, except for that he had to cut a big check?
Right.
And time has happened. So I can see where people are upset about it.
So what if maybe he started trying to use his platform to rally against domestic abuse and domestic violence
if he's
or something
done
like
some
that?
work in shelters or
maybe
that
that
do
would
something,
be,
go out and and
some atonement.
That's the thing. Go out and do that sort of thing. Give people a reason to not only see that the last thing they do is when they do a search of your name, they're seeing images of a bruised and battered person.
Right.
Give them something else. Show that you've learned something from it. I appreciate that the people in the gym are saying that he works hard. I mean, for him to make it to the NFL, that the guy's got a good work ethic and he has great genes and you can do work about it. But that doesn't detail how you are as a person. I know in his interviews right now, he comes off as humble and he comes off like he's, escaped a speeding bullet, and able to still have a career and do something, and he hasn't served any jail time for what a lot of people would. But I can see why some people are angry, and some people, especially somebody like Jessica Rose Clark's that's dealt with domestic violence, they're not quickly going to just change their minds because, oh, hey, by the way, you didn't, the court didn't actually press, the trial was dismissed or whatever. Doesn't change the fact or whatever. So a lot of people, they need to see something else. I can see where a lot of people are just like, why bring this in? Because the person, is not the kind of, what they think, the kind of person that deserves to be in there. If you want it to be, a legit sort of sporting thing, like the NFL and all those other people. I mean, like, why can't he go to the NFL? Because he's messed up. But here's another organization that wants to be on the same level as the NFL that's like, come on in. So if you want to hold yourself to the same levels, maybe act the same way. And I don't want to be a guy that's like, oh, you shouldn't be able to make a living. Like, I get it, but, do some atonement. Give something so people understand. Make it easy for yourself. At least he's not going out there and be like, coming off as this, like, brash guy that's just like, ha, I got through the system. He's not. Like I see Trump.
If you do the interviews, like I can imagine some people are like, hey, I don't even want to watch his interviews. I'm so disgusted by this guy. But if you watch the pre-fight interview we had with him last week and the post-fight interview we had with him last week, I mean, granted, I've only spent a total of 20 minutes around him.
Yeah.
But he seems like a fairly humble guy that realizes, like, I messed up. Yeah. And this is my new start in life, and I want to make sure it works. Right. So, I mean, it seems like a guy. And then, so that as a person, you kind of want to go, all right, well, I can respect that. And, of course, you see what he does in the cage, and you go, I can respect that. Yeah. So it seems like you want the guy to do good.
Yeah.
And but I don't want to write off what happened. But I think I'm seeing what you're saying.
I would like to see something else on the outside. I think he's doing a lot of work probably in the gym and stuff, and I would like to see a lot of work outside of the gym, maybe with some clinics, some community centers, that deal with domestic violence victims. Donate some money if you still got some money. Do something that shows.
Donate some time.
Show that you actually have learned from it.
Cut a piece of every one of your checks for the rest of your professional career to
something,
to a shelter.
And then at that point, he's doing good. He's doing good for others that have been affected by the stuff that he made a mistake. Like, I think that would be
that would be a statement.
It would be
for
hard
the rest
pressed,
of my career.
Yeah.
I volunteer some time, or I give some percentage of my check.
It'd be hard. It's hard to hate on a guy that would then be, trying to atone for the rest of his life in that particular situation, or just going forward. Like, because then that would be, to me, a real offering of atonement for what he had, what had happened in the past.
I have a better understanding now.
Yeah,
I know I can come to you for advice.
Well, you should atone for that mistake.
Let's talk about let's keep it in the vein of decisions based on money. Okay, we didn't get your take on UFC 225. I know you were exhausted. Luckily, I did bang out a 167.5, and normally we would leave it there, but the stories keep coming. All right. And the biggest stories in our post UFC 225 coverage continues to be centered all around the fallout of Mike Jackson versus CM Punk.
Yeah.
It's leading our traffic, it seems like, every single day, the newest reaction about it. And, again, at the Tuesday Night Contender Series, Dana White was asked about it. He was asked about CM Punk. He was asked about Michael Jackson. I'm sure you probably saw by now his initial statements that he made in Chicago. If you think he's backing down, he's not. Here's what he had to say.
With CM Punk just fighting, and the second fight wasn't really what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Do you wish you would have the Contender Series in place at that time to maybe bring him through the same way as Greg Hardy?
I don't know. I don't know if Punk was ready for that, but the thing was, CM Punk would come to the fights, and he was such a huge fan, and he wanted to try this. I gave the guy a shot. It's different. I've never done really anything like that except for Brock Lesnar. And it worked out with Brock. It didn't work out with Punk.
Do you regret it? or?
No, he's a nice guy. I regret putting Michael Jackson in there. I will not call him Mike Jackson, okay? He's Michael Jackson. I regret that. That I regret.
Do you know if Punk agrees with you? You said he should call it a career. Have you talked to him?
I have not talked to him. I'm hoping he agrees, though.
All right, so there you go. Dana White definitely not backing down on CM Punk, Michael Jackson, as he likes to call him. All right, so Cook, I want to ask you first. So the fact, I know he's like, I'm going out of my way to call him Michael, like that's the insult. The fact that people are talking about it as much as they are, right? That it continues to lead our traffic. That what is his name? Daniel Bryan coming out and saying something about Mike Jackson. I mean, it continues to be a source of discussion. Oh yeah, they got into it. So
Did they actually have back and forth themselves?
They had like a.
Oh, I would take Daniel Bryan over Mike Jackson any day.
See, here we go. Here we go. See, now you're already playing the matchup in your head. So that's what I want to ask. I mean, the fact that people are talking about, the fact that people are clicking on it, the fact that people are discussing it, does that mean that maybe the UFC isn't like off base in considering other opportunities like this, where it's a quote unquote freak show fight or quote unquote celebrity fight? However you want to refer to it is. I mean, if it's generating traffic and it's generating interest, do you think they should consider it, even as pissed as Dana White obviously is about the way things play out?
Oh, yeah, man. I just want to see. Dana would have to eat crow and come back and be like, sorry, I am bringing Mike Jackson back for this fight against Daniel Bryan. I was wrong to say that he would never fight in the UFC again because.
Okay, well, maybe it's not Daniel Bryan and Michael Jackson. Maybe it's, I don't know, who else would be out there.
Yeah, but, I mean, it was just crazy. I think, Dana a lot of times, I think, can keep his feelings for certain fighters very separate. We've seen showboating all the time. For him to come out so adamantly offended by what took place, I remember watching it thinking, like, Mike, what are you doing? Like, bro, you're making a mistake. Like,
to me, it wasn't showboating. To me, it was the fact that I feel like from about mid-second round on, he had no interest in finishing the fight whatsoever. Like, he almost looked bored out there. Like, he almost looked like he was just more interested in kind of making CM Punk look silly than he was in finishing the fight. And so it wasn't like the twirling his hands and hitting the body or whatever. Like, that's showboating. I mean, like, a guy like a Michael Venom Page, like, how much does that guy showboat? But then he also wrecks you. You know what I mean? I mean, people showboat. That's fine. And there is something to be said for accomplishing a little something before you showboat, not doing it your first fight. Yeah. But to me, I mean, when you were watching that fight, to me it wasn't the showboating. It was the fact that he looked almost bored in there and completely disinterested in finishing the fight.
I didn't know if I really felt that he felt bored. I remember I felt it more like it was like showed me because when he tried to finish CM in the first round, other ones, I just felt like, oh, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the ability to knock out Punk. I was like, Punk has so much heart that he didn't go down. I just thought, like, okay.
I liked when he called him CM for a second. I was like, is that where we're going?
I just like it that I just felt that he was like, well, fuck, I knocked Punk with everything that I have, and he took it. So now I might as well just try to showboat and look good because I don't have the power to end him. But when he was looking up, when he was on top and doing the stupid thing, hit the stomach, to me it just rang like such showboat and it was just weird because it was just like you're not finishing the guy, but then you're trying to showboat and act like you're like, oh, like you have the fight completely in check, and it's like
right.
He did in the sense like just Phil didn't have the answer for him.
How about this? I did an interview earlier today. I did a show with MMA UK, and we talked about it. And they floated out a theory that I hadn't thought about. Tell me if you like this one, Cold Coffee. That Mike Jackson, as a journalist, part of him knows it's about stories, it's about headlines, it's about this, and so he was acting the way he was acting to kind of create the story, create the controversy, so to speak. You think that? You think he was? No, you don't think that was playing in his head?
No, because I think if anything, if he was really trying to, I think ultimately in his head, he wanted more another fight as opposed to a good story. And I think he just, when he went out there, I mean, he got rocked a couple times. CM hit him and rocked him a couple times. Mm-hmm. And when he gave CM all he could, he beat CM's face up. But he didn't have the power to, like, finish it.
Like a clean knockout.
He didn't have the clean knockout. And I think he got to a point where he doubted himself. Then he was like, he started switching into whatever other mode that was going on in his head.
Right.
I mean, all I kept thinking was like, man, Bob's got to be over in the corner like, dude, what are you doing? Like,
and again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I like Mike Jackson.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. So when I say this, I always say, never say anything that you wouldn't say to somebody's face. And I would say, if he was sitting right here at Buffalo Wild Wings at Warner Springs Rango, I would say, this is what I observed. It looked to me like you were disinterested in finishing the fight. Was Dana White's criticism level pretty heavy? Yeah, but Dana White's known to be a bit of a hothead. But I get the criticism.
I get the criticism, but I just feel like Dana was too attached to Phil that he took it way too personal, way more personal than he ever takes shit. People do it a lot of times. People showboat all the time, but he doesn't go out and call him a jackass. doesn't
Right.
go out there and call him whatever. He
interesting.
doesn't. But I think the fact that he if you didn't want to buy into the whole experiment and watching Phil go out and do what he did, Phil earned a lot of respect because he didn't want to quit, and he took a serious beating. And I think anybody watching that, you kind of then, even if you weren't really in his corner, were in his corner.
Well, that's what I want to be. So, after that fight was over, I and a lot of people, a big sentiment was, man, I can respect Punk for the way, his bravery out there, his courage, what he did. And I heard some counter arguments about it's not brave to go in there. He was making $500,000. Any of us, you and I, would go in there and we would, for $500,000. It's like the old argument people used to make with Mike Tyson, or whatever. Like, I'd go in and get knocked out by Mike Tyson for $10 million or whatever. No, it's not the fact that he stepped in there that makes me respect him, which I respect that. It's there was many times where he could have quit.
That's
many times when he could have balled up, done the thing where, you cover up and wait for the ref to come wave it off. You give your neck up, and he didn't. He kept doing it. And so I do have respect for Punk. And again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm only hating on Jackson, but I don't know. That's kind of so at the end of the day, should they still be open to making fights like this with people that maybe aren't UFC level, if they'll get eyeballs? If it's it should a money decision, or is there something about the sanctity of the octagon or the sanctity of the UFC?
With what they've done, especially with like the whole, how they haven't admonished Conor really fully for what he did, just makes you think. I mean, like, I feel like that whole the sanctity of the octagon, all that's just running away. Like, I just feel like it doesn't feel the same, so it feels like it's an entertainment show. And in that case, and they always say that we're in the entertainment business.
It's owned by an entertainment company, right?
It doesn't bother me. Like, just call it how it is. Don't try to, sell it as something different. If you got a guy that's coming in with, no professional fights, but he has a big background, call it that. And just say, hey, here's our whatever Friday freak show fight, or whatever. But just call it what it is. Don't try to sell it as something different. I mean, if you know it's about the money, just own it. People understand what's going on. People don't, they're not dumb. When people look at it and they're like, oh, why are they putting the CM Punk on here? Why? They realize, it's just about trying to bridge the whole WWE audience as well as people that maybe know who Phil is to bring him over. I mean, we get it, but so I'm not opposed to it, but just don't assume like everybody's dummy. People know why you're doing it. Just own up to it, and at least earn the respect of like you're doing it on the level and not trying to sell wolf tickets or something.
Oh, look at you! Bring up a little
I'm just trying to bring that out. When's the last time you said wolf tickets?
I don't know that I've ever said. I don't know that that's part of my vocabulary. I can respect the fact that they throw down. It just doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth.
But I don't know. But yeah, I certainly feel, I don't think Mike deserved the hate that he got from Dana for that.
I agree with that.
I believe he could have kept the pressure on more. If he truly was looking at the corner for direction, it just didn't read like that. So I apologize that it looked like you were showboating. If you were, in fact, generally trying to look to the corner, but it looked like you were showboating after what it was. It would have just been better if he said, man, Sam was a tough motherfucker, and I just couldn't finish the dude. So, I looked over to my corner like, what should I do differently? How about I just spiral my hand and hit him in the stomach, That's going to do it. If I hit him clean in his face, didn't do it, this should clearly do it,
The spiral shot to the body, the big finishing
move. But, yeah, it sucks. It sucks that, in a sense, because Dana got angry, any other chance that Mike, he wanted to do boxing, he wanted to do it's all done. And I just feel like Dana was way too close to the situation, Could Mike have maybe did a little bit differently, that maybe in better favor, that give him another chance? Probably. So it's unfortunate that, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's not like I'm clamoring for the next Mike Jackson card, but you're right. He's a nice dude. He's a good dude. And, I mean, every time I've seen him, he's always been a fun individual to be around. But, I guess it's one of those things. You have a shot at something, and something inside you just went the wrong route and chose it, And but I don't think it's unfixable. I mean, especially now if Daniel Bryan wants to come over to the UFC. Stay ready, Mike. I mean, like, if in a sense he did the right thing, so now he has built himself up a whole list of other cats now that want to fight him, and if it's not the UFC, Bellator will do it. So you're all right, Mike Jackson.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Bellator uses.
Stay fit, fella.
Stay fit. All right. Well, speaking of good dudes, I should say I am on a little bit of vacation right now. I'm not doing anything.
Because your family's gone. That is so wrong.
No, I took 4 days of vacation.
Literally vacation.
There's no UFC. There's no Bellator this
the
weekend.
Kid and the wifey were gone.
Well, that's it. So the kid and the wife are gone, and there's no UFC or Bellator. So I took 4 days off.
So you didn't go to Mexico
to watch
see
the
him?
World Cup. No, shut up! They're only gone for a month. They'll be back.
That was a spiral shot to the stomach.
That was a spiral shot to the body. That was a finishing move right there. It's more effective than I thought. No, what I did last night was I went with Tony, who you have met. Obviously, we played golf together. We went to Nine Inch Nails last night.
No shit.
At Hard Rock. Yeah.
Trent Reznor, fucking man.
Speaking of old guys trying to do good stuff, that was me.
Oh, I think I was Trent Reznor.
No, not Trent Reznor, dude. Trent Reznor's still like in shape, like rocking out.
He's been doing it for a while, man. Those guys are incredible, man. That dude's shit.
I was joking because I had to work yesterday morning. I had to work the morning shift, which meant I started working at 5 a.m. and I finished around 1 p.m. And then the concert was at like 8. And I was joking because like 20-year-old me, I had seen Nine Inch Nails back in the day, and 20-year-old me would have been like, taking a couple hits of acid, shooting some tequila, and heading over to Hard Rock. Instead, dude, at like 1 o'clock when I got done working for the day, I took a nap for a while so I could be up for the concert, so I wouldn't fall asleep during the concert. But I had a good time, man. I had a
when
really,
you say
I had
that
a good
statement,
time.
then it feels like your age. You're like,
oh, dude, I'm
don't want to
old.
fall asleep in the concert.
I
don't think anybody's ever.
Yeah, I don't think you fall asleep
at
at Nine Inch
Nails
Nails. I was. So apparently, man, I didn't even know. Like, I didn't even know they were coming to town. And Tony.
Yeah, I didn't remember that either.
Dude, they just launched a tour. Like, it's their only North American dates. They're going to Europe. They're playing. I might actually go back tomorrow night. They're playing 3 dates, and he has tickets to all 3 days. But I will say this. Even my old 40-year-old ass, we were up in the pit, dude. And by the end, we started about, I don't know, maybe like 8 people deep. And by the end, I was about 4 people deep from the rail. So, hey, even at 40, I got in there. And lived it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So getting old.
6/13 and the 15th and the 16th. Out with the joint, huh?
Yeah, it was fun, man.
Then they're hopping over to London for some shows. Then Paris, France, then the Netherlands.
So I'm probably going to see 2 of the 3 shows. I think I'm going back tomorrow. So
those are the last shows before they go back. They're actually going to.
That was where all they did 3 warm-up shows here, basically, and then they're going to Europe.
Then they, after Japan, they're going through Spain, all up playing Thailand, Japan, and they come back to Phoenix.
Yeah, they're playing the world. And then they do North America after that.
Texas, Georgia.
So, yeah, bro. So I was in the front. I jumped in there.
That's funny. H&H was just literally talking about, because I don't know if she did know. She's like, I think I'm changing my new favorite band recently. And she just sends me NIN. I was like, are you talking about Nine Inch Nails? She's like, yeah, they get me. They whatever. I was like, that band's been around for like a while, right? This is not like a new thing.
They jammed out, dude. I had a good time.
That's good.
I had a good time. So, but I was proud of myself. Like, even though I'm getting old,
musicians.
I still jumped right in the middle of the pit and was having a good time. But speaking of getting older,
did you catch the open act?
Yeah, it was not good.
Was it the
Terrible.
Jesus and Mary chain?
No. It wasn't Jesus and Mary chain. It was some. Now we've been talking. It was this rock band, like a punk band that had.
It might have been like a local.
No, it's somebody that Trent had discovered in New Orleans. I didn't dig it. It wasn't good.
Yeah, it's all good.
But it makes me sound awful because he wants another one. He definitely wants another one. I was gonna say
it happened. I mean,
they have a female.
I like that though, and I like it too. Like a lot of times, like I'm a drummer, even though I did play today, thank goodness, or I almost have to just stop calling myself a musician. And I was actually jamming to Bruno Mars today. Was my play along guest. I Bluetoothed it into my Bose headphones that I take on the flight, so I can't really hear anything. He's a lot of fun to play with. I was like trying to sing along. I was just excited.
I want to go see that. I want to go see that at the Park Theater. I've never
but female drummers totally do it for me. Totally do it for me.
I was really just going down this road to set you up for. Speaking of getting older, you know what else can happen? Not only do you have to take naps before you go to Nine Inch Nails concerts, but you can also start to lose your hair sometimes.
It's true. So maybe you've noticed that you have a little less hair that you used to have, but you're not sure there's a real solution. The thing is, there are 2 clinically proven medications that let you keep your hair, and now they're inexpensive and easy to get. You don't need to lose your hair if you don't want to, and that's why all I have to tell you about is Keeps. For 5 minutes now and just $1 a day, you'll never have to worry about hair loss again. Like, I had to get a haircut today, John, and like, granted, it had gotten long, but like,
Right. It had gotten shaggy.
Shaggy, but it felt thick. I felt like
Right.
it was a little thicker, and I think I'm keeping a little bit more than I have been, maybe.
That's the Keeps.
I think it's the Keeps kicking in, yo. So, getting started with Keeps is so easy. Sign up takes less than 5 minutes. Just answer a few questions and snap some photos. A licensed doctor remotely reviews your information and recommends the right treatment for you, all without ever leaving your couch. We like that part.
We like that.
Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there. Some of you have probably tried them before, but you've never gotten them this easy for this price. Keeps is only $10 to $35 a month, plus now you can get your first month free thanks to us. One hell of a deal for getting to keep your hair. There's no reason putting this off any longer. Stop hair loss today the easy way with Keeps.
How do they get it
To
done?
receive your first month of treatment for free, go to keeps.com/road. That's KEEPS.com/road. If you don't know how to spell road, go out and jump and lay down on it and wait for a car to hit you. That's a free month of treatment at keeps.com/road. Keeps. Hair today, hair tomorrow.
That's a beautiful read.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic.
That's because I'm happy with the product.
Gotta
I'm
love
happy.
it.
I
All
just
right,
got to
listen.
remember to keep doing it. Hence the Keeps.
Keeps it coming.
Keeps it coming.
All right, listen, like I said, we were kind of going to put a wrap on 225, but if you remember, we didn't get to talk to Robert Whittaker the night of the fight. He was taken straight to the hospital to
Fix that.
precautionary reasons
Well,
and take a look at that
precautionary. Yeah, I was
jacked up
going to
hand.
say, his hand was fucked.
It
When you
was
saw the
fucked up, so-
pictures, I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, it was not good. So, but as it turned out, he was free today. Had a chance to get him on the phone for a few minutes.
Talk to Bobby Knuckles?
Actually,
You
right
called him Bobby
before,
Knuckles?
right before he was going in to get surgery,
No
which
shit.
I didn't even know. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, so what's the update? You'll hear in just a second. I'm like, what's the update? He's like, well, I'm actually going into surgery in like half an hour, and then I'll be able to tell you. I was like, oh, okay. Well, thank you very
Thanks
much
for
for
taking
giving
this
me
call.
this extra minutes. Like, the hell are you talking to me for, bro?
That's
Like,
hilarious.
so yeah, so Robert Whittaker. I mean, that's how cool of a dude he is. He gave me a few
Yeah.
minutes right before he was going into
yeah,
surgery.
John, I'm getting my hand worked on, yeah.
Was that Beck Rawlings? Or?
I will hit you with this bare knuckle boxing.
Too great. All right, so listen, yeah, we were going to wrap up 225, but we never had a chance to talk to the champ. So I know it's a few days later, but this is the first time we had a chance to talk to him. So here is Robert Whittaker. Rob, hey, John Morgan, how you doing, sir?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing real well, man. I'm doing real well. I appreciate you taking time, man. I know you're back on your personal family time now, so thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man. All right, well, let's just talk about it. I mean, we didn't get to see you after the fight for obvious reasons, but let's get the health update first. I mean, we know you had your broken hand there, but otherwise, how are you feeling other than that after a few days after that tough fight?
Yeah, I'm a little sore. Yeah, we always leave a fight like that, it'll be sore. But apart from the break in my hand, I'm pretty good. No other serious injuries.
So listen, you mentioned the hand. I heard differing reports. Do you remember exactly when you broke it? Because I heard some people say the first. I heard some people say the third. Do you remember like exactly when you broke it and what went through your mind?
I don't remember exactly when I broke it, but I do remember a moment at the end of the first round when I thought, I can't feel my hand from my fingertips to my forearm, and I knew that wasn't good.
I mean, what's going through your mind at that point? I mean, the first time you fight this guy, you got to fight him on one leg. The second time, you got to fight him with one hand. I mean, does it compare? Did it almost prepare you for this? I mean, what was going through your head?
This guy seems to be a jinx. That's what's going through my head, mate, is that every time I go up against him, I leave with a serious injury. But, it was a hard fight. And watching the fight again, I can see how hard it was. It's very surprising that we both didn't. It's not that surprising that we both didn't leave with injuries.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, a broken hand, I got to think, affected your game plan quite a bit, right? I mean, how much again, adjustment did you have to make on the fly? Did you have to throw everything out the window, or were you able to kind of use what you thought? I mean, how much did it impact you?
Yeah, it definitely impacted me in the sense that I lost a lot of firepower, especially considering Yoel Romero's game plan, which was just to take as many shots as he could walking forward. And to lose my right hand like that definitely impacted my game plan somewhat. But fortunately, I was having a lot of success with my kicks and then sticking behind the jab. And, I accumulated a lot of total significant strikes with just the one hand in my kicks.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I thought you chopping away at his legs was smart. Were you was it frustrating at all? I mean, because like you said, I mean, he was just walking forward. I thought you were attacking his leg well. You were jabbing him well, and he just keeps coming forward. Is that difficult to deal with, to see that you're lighting the guy up and he just keeps coming at you?
Yeah. It was very weird in that sense that I was landing a lot of shots on him, and I was kicking in his knee, and I was landing the jab, and I was sticking behind it, and for him just to keep walking through like that was ridiculous, and especially in the sense that I had fought him a year ago, and he wasn't walking through strikes like that a year ago. So whatever kung fu stuff he was working on in a year's time, it definitely paid dividends.
Talk about, when the end of the fight came around, I thought it was a pretty clear 3-2. I didn't go with any 10-8 rounds. I thought they were all 10-9 rounds. But talk to me how you felt. I mean, were you in your corner? Were you guys adding things up? And how confident did you feel that, I've done enough to win this fight?
Yeah, I was definitely 100% confident in the fact that I had done enough to win the fight. I was confident in the fact that I had won 3 to 5 rounds. I understand I got dropped, and he went mental on me at those stages and then got in a lot of normal strikes. I don't think his knockdowns, I don't think he capitalized on that he should have, to be honest. That's why MMA separates itself from boxing, is that a knockdown doesn't win you the round. You need to use that. You need to utilize that. But I was very confident that I had done the work necessary to win the fight. But I've also lost split decisions before to the judges. It just depends on what fight they see. And fortunately enough for me, they were on my side. They also agreed that I won the majority of the rounds, and they gave me the nod.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's funny because Joe Rogan ends up saying, what about a rubber match? And, of course, you're 2-0 against the guy, and he misses weight on top of that. I got to think that at this point in your career, like, you feel like you're done with them, right? Like, what else do you have to prove?
Yeah, well, exactly as you said. I've beat him twice now, and he did not make weight. A lot of people don't realize this, but I didn't need to take that fight. I made the weight. I did everything in my contract obligation, so I could have just gotten paid and then walked away. But the people of Chicago all bought tickets to come watch me fight. I have a lot of friends and family back home that I told I'd put on fireworks for them. So I went through with the fight, but he was lucky to get that fight in the first place.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, you don't seem like a guy that's bothered by much, but what was your emotion like, on Friday night? It was like we were almost kind of joking earlier in the week, what if he doesn't make weight? And then it happens, and as you said, you could just walk away and get on a plane and go home. But what was your emotion like? Did it throw you off? Did it frustrate you? Were there conversations to be had? Help me understand what Friday was like after this guy misses weight.
Personally, and where I was standing, I didn't deal with it at all. I said, I told my corners and my manager, you guys got to deal with it. There's going to be a fight. Like I said before, I'm not going to fight 20 hours and not fight someone. And especially after telling all my friends and family that, I'm going to put on fireworks for them. I was talking a big game. I had to bring some, you know what I mean? But myself, I conduct myself as a professional. So my job was to make weight. I made weight. Then my job after that was to rehydrate and refuel for the fight on Saturday night. And that's what I did, and that's what I was focusing on.
But Rob, is there any part of you, man, that goes, you know what a dangerous guy this is, and you don't have to fight him. The letter of the law says he didn't make weight. Is there even one sliver of you that goes, it's not worth it, man? Either A, I need to teach this guy a lesson, or B, I just don't need to put myself at risk. I'm the champ.
Yeah, after this fight, I'm definitely I'm gonna start considering it, because I'm going to be honest with you, he didn't feel like a middleweight. He did not feel like a middleweight, and I certainly think that his struggle to make weight and everything that surrounded it certainly had an impact on his physique and how he came into the fight and how he fought. But that's neither here nor there. That's for decisions now later down the track. He's a tough, big, strong dude. I took the fight. I won the fight, and I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I know you'll fight anybody, man. You're not afraid or intimidated by anybody. But is there any part of you that's, I want to say, like almost relieved to be like, dude, I did my 10 rounds with that guy. Never again. I don't have to see that guy ever again.
No, it's not relief. It's just that I've beaten him twice now, and one of those times he didn't make weight. It's the only thing to do next would be like to fight with no gloves, with no weight limit, like in some car park somewhere. Because I have given this guy every opportunity to fight me as comfortable as he can.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, what's next for you, Rob? I think you're taking a little vacation. I heard maybe. What's in the works for you?
Yeah, I'm going to spend a little time just to relax, play some video games with my family, just enjoy myself a little bit. Obviously, I've got a broken hand, so I'm going to have to go undergo a rehab process, a strengthening process for that, and then just make sure everything's worked out properly with that. But, if my body's well and healthy, I'd love to get back in there before the end of the year, if not as soon as possible.
Yeah, did they give you any time frame? I mean, do you have to put like any pins or any surgery or anything? I mean, what kind of time frame are you looking at?
The thing is, I'm getting surgery today. In the next half hour, I'm going in to go see the doctor.
Oh, wow.
So he's the one who's going to be giving me the time frame on what I need to do and whatnot from here on.
Wow. Okay. Well, I definitely appreciate the time then, man. Knowing that you're going into surgery right now.
Nah, you're all right, mate. It's all good.
So what do you? I mean, knowing that you don't know exactly when you can fight again. I mean, are you thinking about who's next? I mean, you got Weidman and Gastelum. I mean, they're out there kind of chirping at each other, saying who deserves next. I mean, knowing that you've got to worry about yourself, are you looking at the division at all and thinking about who's next, who might deserve that shot?
Yeah, I know who's there, but it doesn't bother me. I've never been one to pick my opponents. They just need to prove it to the UFC. They need to take fights. They need to work to become number one contender. As you've seen through my rise and my own mentality, like I've never been one to tiptoe around people to try and get a title shot or to try and do anything like that. Try and put myself in, like politically almost, get myself into those number one contender positions. My whole thing is just beat everyone, and they give you the shot.
Yeah. You mentioned they got to be number one. What if the UFC decided, we need some marketing stuff? Let's throw out an interim title while Rob's on the sideline. Would that upset you at all if they went that route, or does it matter to you?
It depends how long. I think the interim titles play an essential role in the division. If a champion's out for too long a time, the division needs to move forward. We can't just be on a standstill like that. But it depends how long I'm out. Obviously, if I'm in the out for 4 months and they throw an interim title in the mix, I'm going to be a little upset. But, it depends on what I need to do and how I'm working.
Yeah, well, this was a gutsy performance, man. I think the really cool thing about this is, with Bisping being retired, with GSP looking at the thing, I mean, there's no question that you're the best middleweight in the world right now. I mean, do you feel that accomplishment as well? I mean, does it feel a little bit different right now that I don't think there's anybody in the world that can even have a question that you're the best 185-pounder out there?
No, I've believed that long before I got the title, but I think everyone else is finally starting to wake up to the fact that, yeah, I'm the best here. So.
I love it, man. Well, hey, listen, I won't keep you too long. I know you got to prep yourself for surgery, so I really do appreciate you taking a few minutes, Rob. Any other, last thoughts, messages, anything that we could get out there for the fans before you go enjoy your vacation?
No, just thank you so much for the fans that have been there supporting me. That fight was for you guys. I wanted to put on a show for you guys to enjoy it, and I think I did that. So thank you for all your support and just to keep watching you guys.
Awesome, brother. I do appreciate the time. Best of luck with the surgery, and, of course, we look forward to you fighting again, man.
Thank you so much. See you later, guys.
See you, bro. All right, so that was Robert Whittaker, the Reaper, Bobby Knuckles, if you
Bobby
like.
Knuckles.
Yeah, man, dude. Props to him for giving me a couple minutes, man. I really appreciate that, and in good spirits. And listen, doesn't think he should ever have to face Yoel Romero again, really. And I can't blame him for that, man. He's beat him twice, and again, Romero missed weight. Regardless of what you think of the whole commission thing, whatever, the bottom line is he didn't make weight. And even if he had,
I don't think much about
even if he had, it's still 2-0. Yeah, it's still 2-0.
I guess we didn't really talk about that. I mean, but everybody was so up in arms about the commission stopping the weight cut. That shit happens all the time. All over the place. For them to just come out and be like, oh, the commission stopped me. They said 2 hours. Yeah, the commission also checks it on a minute-by-minute basis throughout that period. And if it gets to a point where they think that you cannot or should not cut weight, they will stop you.
Yep.
It happens
He didn't
all
look
the
good.
time.
He didn't look good.
No, and like the stories I heard of like the bathroom that they were using to help cut the weight was just torn up. By torn up, I mean like just puke everywhere. It was not a pretty situation. And if anybody would walk into that and take a look at that, they would immediately say, all right, this needs to stop.
If you're involuntarily vomiting, that ain't good.
Right.
And if you're trying to vomit to lose weight, that ain't good either.
That ain't good either. So, I mean, like, so I just hate the fact that, and now he's trying
that's the asterisk. That's the
to sue the commission or do whatever he's trying to do to. It happens all the time, but nobody raises such a big stink in the fact that it was just so close. You know, like, if he would have not got back to, if he would have just stayed at a pound and it was the full pound and they stopped and people were like, oh, well, dude was still a pound over. It was just the fact he was so close that everybody's like, oh, man, you should have just let him kill himself a little bit longer. We maybe would have got that 0.2 out, you know? I mean, it was just, it was rough seeing, you know. He looked great the next day.
Oh, yeah.
So he recovered well. So I guess if there's a point to the side of, well, let us push ourselves. We know how far we can go because
well, that's why
I
Robert
can
said
rehydrate.
it didn't feel like I was fighting a middleweight. That's why he said it right there. It's like it didn't feel like I was fighting a middleweight. So
crazy.
Yeah. All right. So listen, I should say, if you like what you're listening, which I don't see how you wouldn't. I mean, it's solid content, right?
Dog, we hooked you up with some Keeps stuff,
That's
man.
Robert Whittaker right there. We got Keeps.
Your simple contacts. You can get. I got Agent Ace doing that simple contacts, man, because she was wearing a contact that had like a little tear in it. I was like, get new contacts. I was like, have you heard of simple?
How do I do that?
How do you do that? I'm like, it is simple. You know what's not simple? Keeping a damn torn contact in your eye. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
That's what I'm
Reorder
saying.
your contacts.
It's quality content. So if you like it, do us a favor. Make sure you're subscribed in iTunes, all right? And do us a favor. Log in. Leave us a little feedback. I love the feedback. The feedback means so much to me personally. I really mean that. I love the feedback. You could be like Rod1042, who just says simply, always delivers. Can't hate on that. You could be like Wesley Wise, who says, love this podcast. Morgan is a top-notch journalist, very knowledgeable, and he's found a great compliment with co-host Cold Coffee.
Whoa.
Sometimes the show runs a little long with the rambling, but for the most part, it's just the right blend of MMA rants, analysis, and interviews. Best part is the pre- and post-fight interview audio with the fighters. Please keep this coming. I miss many of the videos, but always catch the audio. The post-fight content is terrific. Keep up the awesome work, guys. Highly recommended. We're trying to tighten up the format. Chi-Town MMA.
Just like our bellies?
Oh, yeah, really tightening those up. Filling them out, more like. That makes it tight. Chi-Town MMA says, I have been an avid listener of the show for a year now. John's insight, knowledge, and enthusiasm of MMA is second to none. I love every aspect of the show, especially Cold Coffee.
What?
My only gripe would be Fiasco Jones. That guy is just too loud and too much. Often sounds like he's whining rather than talking.
That's awesome. You know, just now, because I'm feeling the love from everybody, I want to make sure that I'm going to go back and...
Well, hold on. I got more.
Oh, you got more? Okay.
J-Dub Freestyle says, I've been listening to the show for the past year and a half. John Morgan gets great interviews, and Cold Coffee is entertaining.
Aww.
Main complaint is any episode with Fiasco Jones. He's loud and annoying, and I'll turn the podcast the first second I hear his voice. And last is DRYKJS, Dry KJs? I don't know. Anyway, he says, best interviews, fight recaps, frosty beverage filled analysis in the business. I listen to every and a half episode the morning after every fight. You should try adding some Patreon exclusive content like between rounds to try and encourage more people to sign up for the monthly packages. Thanks, John. And DRYKJS or Dry KJs, I don't know. You are right. Listen, we have not forgot about Patreon.
I was going to say, I feel like I want to give a rundown of everybody that's kind of on there that we haven't done in a while.
You should.
We never gave the Chandon Bredado.
Yeah.
Was one of the last guys, and I feel like we never gave him his proper on-air thing. So
we should say thank you to everybody supporting us there. We may have launched a little prematurely. We're fleshing things out. We want to make it. We got to figure it out. We don't want to take away free content, but we also want to hook up the people that are taking care of us because
like
that does
Ryan,
help us grow the show.
Brent, Jared, Hans, Chandon, or
people like
Shandon.
that. People like that. So thank
I bet
you
it's like Shandon.
to anybody that is supporting
and
us, and we are working on doing some exclusive content there. So we're figuring those things out.
Yeah.
All right.
And Jay and Joe and Muna and Desru and Joe Cola. I just want to
They all mean a lot.
I
It
gave
does.
some rundown
It
of
means
some
a lot.
cats on that we haven't addressed it. The fact that we haven't addressed it and haven't said anything because we were working on it, we want to try to build it up, but we haven't forgot you, and much love. It's because of people like you that we can keep the internet going, and we can keep things working. So you guys, in a sense, literally are helping to keep the lights on.
This is not a profitable venture. It's more of
No.
a passion project.
Yes.
So anybody that helps us invest in keeping things moving forward, it is definitely much appreciated.
We love you and
All
respect
right, let's listen real quick. I mean,
I love you.
Nope.
Each and one, every one of you. I love you. Ryan, I love you, Brent. I love you. I love you. I love you.
that was cool that you got Yoel to read all those out. that was awesome.
Hey, he's in debt to me.
While he was cutting weight, you were
while
like,
I was cutting weight, I was in there. I was like, hey, by the way, can you? I have some Patreon people, and he's like, what do you need? And I said, can you tell them all you love them? And he's like, yes. So there you go.
And then he recorded all these.
I love you. I love you. I love you, Luke. I give you kiss, Luke. Luke Pressure, I give you kiss. I give you special. I give you special. Everyone else, I just love you.
All right, so listen, no big UFC, no big Bellator this weekend, but I will say I was happy to get Dana White's Contender Series back underway. We talked a lot about Greg Hardy, but Alonzo Minifield, a guy that fights out of Dallas, a Fortis MMA
Fortis
guy.
MMA. I didn't realize
MMA.
he was Fortis because we didn't see Saif there, but I didn't realize he wasn't Fortis.
Yeah,
but
he's a Fortis guy.
if you guys don't know about Fortis, I've been not that
Dude,
he's
you
listening.
should think
I've been
about
dragging,
filming a piece.
I should film a piece. I actually been dragging my feet on finally finishing this piece that we did. Gosh, now it feels like forever ago about Fortis MMA, where
It was.
owner and head coach Saif said takes us through on a little tour. That place is awesome.
It is awesome.
And should you ever work
In
out
my
there,
hometown
whatever,
of Dallas.
in your hometown of Dallas, they got like a putt-putt, little small putt-putt holes up on the top, but stud gym with some really, really good, talented guys on the way up. But I mean, the facility was really, really nice. So eventually here, I just need to finish the polishing, and I'll put something out. Especially if we're going to keep seeing guys like Alonzo come out and do what they did. We got to give a little
These are
notice to that,
studs.
because
Undefeated
everybody
in his career,
talks about all these
2-0
other
in Dana
gyms,
White's
you know.
Contender Series, and we
Yeah.
gotta throw Fortis MMA some love, dude. That's definitely my hometown. I respect that. Chris Curtis picked up a win over Sean Lally. Chris Curtis, I thought looked very impressive. Didn't get the contract, and it turns out he broke his hand and actually announced on Facebook afterwards that he was retiring from MMA after an 11-year career. I think that'd be a damn shame because he's got some talent. I'd like to see him fight again. Montel Jackson, a weird fight over Rico Desculio. A lot of fouls in there. Montel picked up the win. I think he's got some skill as well, but with all the fouls that were in there, I think it made it impossible for him to pick up a contract. And then Kevin Holland with the unanimous decision win over Will Santiago. Funny enough, fresh off the heels of the Mike Jackson performance. I mean,
Yeah.
this was a taunt-filled kind of performance where you can tell Kevin Holland can fight, man. He's got some skills. But I think he cost himself by not really being aggressive and looking for the finish.
I mean, when you look down the list, he's the only all of the other ones, TKOs, kick punches, strikes on them. What stands out? Oh, the unanimous decision.
Mm-hmm.
He had all the talent in the world. He realized that he had more than what Will had to give. He was a bigger size. I mean, and when he was exploding, it was great. I mean, the flying knees, he had good hands. So when he actually stayed to it, he was very, very effective, But it just, I don't know if maybe it was in his mind that the talking to the crowd, raising the hand, sort of showboating, maybe he thought that was what they were looking for, as opposed, and maybe he was doing it still.
That's it. I think you're trying to put on a show. I think that's what he fell victim to. He's like, I want to be memorable. I want Dana to recognize me, to see me. But like, bro, he's already dialed in. Like, that's the only reason he's there. Like, you don't need to do anything special.
When
you need to finish.
The guy that had the least amount of time in the octagon there got the contract.
The
so
two first-round finishes. Got the contract.
So if there's anything, go out there, folks. If you make it on there and you get a chance, just go all in. Get an 8-second knockout. Will give you a much better chance than 3 rounds of dominating and showboating. That will get you an unanimous decision, but unfortunately, it doesn't get you a contract.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt bad for him because I felt like he had everything. He had the ability to finish it. Will was super, super tough.
Oh, tough as nails.
And that's the thing. When he did kind of trade, Will was catching him a couple times, and I think that's the only reason why he maybe didn't go all in, because he felt the power that Will had.
Will can hit hard, yeah.
He's like, I could probably finish if I go all in, but man, he's been getting me, on a couple counters. So maybe that's why he didn't. But I just felt like if he would have pushed it the whole time, he probably would have got the finish. But Will was tough, man, because Will. He just put his head down, took some shots, and then he would just throw a big fucking haymaker. And a lot of them were catching him. So, I don't know.
This
he
whole
had a great
episode-
crowd. Like, he's the only one. I don't know if you see it. Like, he was the only one when he walked back. He got an applause from the crowd. Granted, it was the first one of the night, so maybe
But
people
still.
didn't know what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But he got an applause
That's what's
after
up.
that. So.
I'm telling you, man, this was a good episode. If you haven't been watching Contender Series, this was definitely a good episode to watch. And I love the Contender Series, man. It's probably my favorite part of the week, man. I love the Contender Series. All right, last thing I got for you, since we've been talking about decisions based on money. That's what we've been talking about. That's been the theme of today. What about Jon Jones, Brock Lesnar? Word coming out that Jon Jones, Brock Lesnar. We're stealing a little bit of thunder here from MMA Junkie and from MMA Junkie Radio, but you were monitoring the daily debate question for MMA Junkie Radio boiled down to basically what do you want to see next for Jon Jones, and you were kind of laughing. You were telling me right before we started, that basically like all the feedback was like, who cares?
Don't care.
I don't even want to watch Jon Jones anymore. Like, F that guy.
No division.
Right?
Not which division, no division.
So it's interesting. Like, it seems like people are definitely souring on Jon Jones the longer that he's been out. But you can't tell me that if they announce Jon Jones, Brock Lesnar, that everybody won't be in on that immediately, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a fight that makes no damn sense whatsoever.
Certainly a lot more than if it was like Jon Jones is coming back to fight Alexander.
Yeah. Or
Like
or
Gustafsson,
Stipe,
like that
even,
fight
even
makes
Stipe,
a lot of sense. Yeah,
even Stipe.
people. I'd love to see the Gustafsson rematch, but
Oh,
it's like
that'd be a great one.
That's a division that, or a fight that means something for
Mm-hmm.
the division. But yeah, when you want to bring the whole Friday night freak factor back in, or whatever, the Brock Lesnar fight is just off the chain when it comes to just.
It's freak show. It
Just
makes no sense. Brock doesn't deserve to
unreal.
fight Jon Jones.
Fuck no.
Doesn't deserve to fight Jon Jones.
But he'd be coming back, and the fact that I didn't think he deserved to fight Mark Hunt.
That's true.
But then he came back, and it sucks because he was cheating. But he came back and was able to dominate and just hold Mark Hunt down and have his way. And you want to see, like, nobody's been able to hold Jones down and impose the will, So it's like, can Brock?
So all right, so here,
there's such a size.
So the
difference.
UFC would definitely book it. But what about you, as a fan, as a journalist?
what
like,
class would it
which
be?
one? Of course, it'd be, well, of course it's heavyweight. But I'm saying, like, what would you like? What? So if you had, let's say Stipe beats Cormier for the sake of argument. Let's say Stipe beats Cormier, right?
Stipe's probably going to beat Cormier.
I agree. So let's say for the sake of argument.
Yeah.
So let's say Gustafsson still isn't matched up at that point. So let's say and look, Jon Jones still has to have his hearing, which we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's about a month from now. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, Jones is cleared. He's ready to return. Brock is cleared. He's ready to return. So Stipe wins. He's on the table. Gustafsson hasn't been matched up with anybody, and Brock's not there. So Jon Jones is back. He's ready to book a fight. Those are the three options. You get to book it. You're not worried about money like the way the UFC is, because that obviously the Lesnar fight's the bigger money fight.
Right.
Which one do you book?
Well, if it comes to money, then yeah.
That's what I'm saying. No, you're just a fan. You're just a fan, or you're just a journalist. You're just cold coffee. For whatever reason,
I'd do the Brock.
Dana was like,
For
cold
sure,
coffee.
the Brock,
I want you
just
to.
because I think
I
it's
know. It's
just
weird,
such
right?
A circus thing.
It's
I
not
mean,
a
like,
heavyweight title fight. It's not the rematch that we want to see.
Yeah.
But it's the crazy money fight.
And unless Stipe was calling for it, like, Jones doesn't deserve a fight with Stipe. Like, you can't just come back and fight the champ that's been doing all the right things. Like,
That's a good
you don't
argument.
deserve
That's
it.
a good argument.
If Stipe wants it, then I would give it because Stipe asked for it.
Okay.
But Jones can't call that shot. Like, that's
That's
not
fair.
Your, that's
That's
not
a good.
yours
That's a
to
good
do it.
point. That's
But
a good
as
point.
for like Brock and that, it makes so much sense because granted.
It makes no sense, but it makes sense.
I guess it does in the sense that he had the title, Jones had the title, but the title was taken away from him. So in that sense, he's according
It's the
to
belt he
Conor.
never lost.
It's Conor. If you go to Conor thinking he's still the champion,
Yep.
so then it would be champ on champ. So in that sense, I guess yes, you do deserve it, but unfortunately, as for if I was just as a fan wanting to see some crazy spectacle, the Brock one, hands down.
I agree.
I mean, I agree. Brock's just
as
one
ridiculous
of those.
as it
He's
is.
such a freak of nature that you're just like, you want to see him while he can, because that's another guy that, I mean, if he is going to fight, he can't fight at the top level for much longer. I mean, he has his size and his athleticism. I think that carries him right now. But age will start catching up. And the body breaking down will start catching up. So in a year or 2 years, and you put this same matchup, you put Brock in front of Jones, not that I'm like, Brock's like this diminishing old man. He'll be like on a crutch or whatever. But like Brock right now against Jones is a whole different story than if this doesn't play out and say like a year or two happens. You still got a John Jones in his prime against a Brock Lesnar that hasn't. So
Gustafsson isn't going anywhere. Stipe's not going anywhere. Yeah. Brock is going somewhere. So if it's going to happen, like now,
it's got to happen sooner rather than later. But dude, it'd be. I would watch that shit in a heartbeat. I think.
Just making decisions based on money.
Well,
no, you laid out a lot of other reasons.
That's just a fun freak show fight. I mean, like Brock is just, for what he's been able to do to some of these bigger other guys and just how he can just hold him down. I'm like, can he do that to Jones? And it would just be, John is just so. I would never say he's like undersized, but for like a heavyweight, he's just super strong. Yeah. He's just super strong, and I would be interested to see how Brock would try to control those long legs and everything else. Whether Brock tries to get on top, and next thing you know, John's working in some sort of triangle or something. I mean, like you never know. But
I'm in on it, dude. I'm in on it.
Yeah, I mean, because the other ones make sense for the division, and like they mean a lot of things. But yeah, just. Jones coming back and trying to ask for like Stipe or whatever, unless Stipe asks for it, doesn't make sense that he's going to change division and ask for a division title fight after everything that's happened. Opportunity after opportunity where something has happened and it's been thrown back in the UFC's face. I'm surprised that Dana hasn't came back out and just said something like, "I'll never make him a main event again." Because he won't say that to his cash cows.
Nope.
But. Look at some of these other people that miss weight multiple times, and next thing you know, like, they'll never be a main event again. It's like, well, how many times do you need to get arrested and busted before, and fail tests before you finally put them in that same boat?
Money.
That's it.
Money. That's it. All right, bro. Well, listen, we've been rambling on long enough. As our man pointed out earlier, sometimes it rambles too long. We don't want to ramble too long. We want people to want to listen to us. No,
it's the frosty beverages.
It is the frosty beverages. No Anna hat this week.
Is the Miller Lite for me.
I'm going with Coke Coors Light because Bud Light wouldn't pay me nothing.
Because they don't only have the PBR cans here. So and then this was happy hour pricing.
Yep.
So I went with the me being the money saver that I am these days.
I don't blame you.
I went with
very frugal.
A very
responsible decision.
But Miller Lite was always like my go-to, like B-Dubs. It's like my go-to beer.
It goes well with wings.
It does go well with wings. It's like water.
There you go. There's your marketing tagline. All right. Well, listen, we got to get out of here. I got to get back to vacation. I'm going to Nine Inch Nails again tomorrow night. I think so. So that's how we roll.
That's how we roll.
World Cup, U.S. Open, Nine Inch Nails, frosty beverages. I call that a beautiful weekend off. And you know what else? Just need to tell everybody. Thanks for listening.